which was, if we go over here to our cylinder 3D, I'm going to drag that out, and we're going to make a kind of a frill. Here, I just want this archived on my site. So if I go in here and I do a mat cap and I just do a cylinder 3D, I can go down here to initialize and change the cylinder. Usually what I'll end up doing is just hit make polymesh 3D, and then I'll go into geometry edge loop and hit delete loops so that I get rid of those extra lines I don't need. And now I know this thing is going to be right down the middle of my world. If I turn on my floor, you're going to see that's how we're oriented. Let's go ahead and make this Z forward, so that blue line is forward, just so I usually work Z forward in space, just a little bit easier for my brain. I suppose we can move this up a little bit. If you ever don't want that floor to snap with you, just go to your draw menu here and change that elevation to 0, I think. And now the floor will kind of stay put. Or, you know what, it probably just stays. Maybe it's -1, I forget. Oh yeah, snap is turned on, so maybe 0, and then snap. Not snap sides to mesh here. So get grid snap equal to snap off maybe. I don't know. Okay, so we have our cylinder here, and I'm going to do a frill that basically loops like this and then loops down to another cylinder. Let's go ahead and squash the cylinder just a little bit. I'm going to hold down Control, and we're going to drag out a copy. And I'm going to move, whoops, and then I'm going to move this copy over a little bit. So I don't want it to cross over the middle, but I want it to kind of get close, because basically this frill, and you know those Victorian frills like Queen of England or you know the Lord of the Manor would wear, and it would keep the fleas off his body, I think. So basically this will come this way, and then this will swoop around and not quite meet, and then this will go back up, and this will repeat that that shape. So what we're going to do is get rid of the extraneous stuff we don't want. And if we're going to be mirroring this thing, I guess what's left over here on this side doesn't matter. But what we don't need is all of this here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and then all this stuff in the middle here we don't need, delete hidden. We're still keeping this little ring here. And then on this one, what we're going to do is this is going to swoop down and pick up right at that midpoint, let's say. So I'm going to go ahead and delete hidden on this one, and then Control Shift, and we're just doing Control Shift visibility, delete hidden on this one. Now, if I go down here to my display properties here, and we turn on double, you're going to see, okay, now I can see both sides. However, when I connect these two, I want these faces, see how these are facing out? Now they're facing in. That's not going to work for me. So what I'm going to need to do, I'll turn on double, I'm going to grab all of this one, turn off double, and I'm going to hit flip. So now you're going to see I'm flipping those faces, so now when I connect these two, they'll behave nicely. I can bridge this a couple different ways. I can go into my Z modeler brush, BZM, hover over an edge, bridge to bridge edges, and do this one. And that's just going to do a straight line. If I was so inclined, other thing I could do, and since these are both the same polygroup, I can go over here to QMesh polygroup all. I can pull out a little thickness, and now I can go through here, and I can go delete a single poly, and then I can delete another single poly, and now I can bridge two holes. So now I can go over here to bridge two holes, I can click here, and now when I pull, I can add in resolution and also add in a little curve. Let's go ahead and turn on polyframe so we can see what we're doing. There we go. So now we can kind of match that up and also give a little bit of curve to this like so. Again, I don't want to cross over that midline, but I think this will work. I'll hit Control W, and now what I can do, and the Control W just makes this all one polygroup, and now I'm just going to go to group by normals. Actually, I didn't have to hit Control W to do that anyways. So now that I have this here, I think that'll work, and then I'm going to repeat this over. Actually, as I repeat this over, I probably don't even need this here. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Shift drag over that with Alt, and then delete hidden. And now I can either bridge these two edges, or I can just do a quick close holes, and then hover over this edge and do a delete edge. Oops. There we go. So we got our basic shape here. Cool. Keep asking your eyelids. Okay, or keep asking your eyelids. Keep asking your questions. Get over there in a second. Okay, so now what we want to do is rotate this thing around and also match it up. Oh, you know what? We have a little bit extraneous information. Because if this is going to, or we'll just mirror and weld this. So I'm going to turn off my floor. If I mirror and weld this now, it's going to mirror the negative quadrant to the positive quadrant. So I'm going to do a deformation. So over here in your deformations menu, mirror, mirror and weld. And now I have this one piece. We're going to repeat this piece all the way around in a circle. A couple different ways to do that. We could do an array mesh like this. And you could go like repeats and then offset in the X amount like so. and then you could use one of your deformers, like a bend curve deformer, to wrap this in a circle, but it's going to kind of stretch them in a way that I'm not going to necessarily like. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is do offset of 0, which, oops, I got two keyboards, it's throwing me off. Offset of 0 here. I'm going to hit rotate, and we're going to go rotate in one of these amounts. I'm not quite sure which one it is yet. I'm going to do that with my transpose line. So I'm going to hit Y to go into transpose mode so I can get access to this. And then you're going to see when I hit transpose, I'm going to get a little yellow dot in there, and that is adjusting my pivot. So I could go to my pivot and adjust it through here, or with transpose turned on, I could go through here and grab this little yellow circle in here and just move this pivot out. So if I move the pivot out here, and then I start doing rotate around, the X amount, it's going to rotate this way around the pivot, not what I want. If I do the Y amount, it's going to rotate this way, that's what I want. And of course, Z amount would do that way around the pivot. So not what I want, but also kind of cool. So the Y amount, we're going to go ahead and do 360. And then I'll go ahead and move those around. Now you're going to see, if I was to bridge these two, it'd be a very flat bridge here. And also, you got to kind of decide if you want these things to be thinner or thicker. The good thing is, because this is just an instance, we can still use our transpose line. So if I just move my transpose line, we don't have to reset that here, but we can kind of thin this out. Actually, let's go out of transpose mode, and I'm just going to use this transpose on this object. And you can use your gizmo, but since we have our transpose line out, we can go ahead and do that. So we can kind of thin this out a little bit if we want to see, okay, these are getting thinner, but now it looks like we can fit a little more in there. So I'm going to go to my repeats here and just drag that to the right, and we'll kind of get those a little bit closer. Now I want to kind of bend this one so that it kind of plays nice. So I'm going to hit W and then hit Y again to go back into gizmo mode. And with that pivot set right there, I'm going to go to my bend arc. And I'm just going to, oh, you know what? I don't want to bend arc the entire thing. I mean, I guess that'll work, but that's a little bit weird. Let's turn off array mesh here, and let's hit delete. And okay, so in the middle here, I guess that'll work. Let's see, bend arc. There we go. And now we can do. I want to bend it so that it's kind of flared out at the front and then not so much in the back. If I turn on array mesh, now you're going to see these things are updating. So it's getting a little bit wider in the front and a little bit thicker in the back. So if I kind of adjust these, that's what I'm trying. I'm just trying to straighten that line out here in the middle. I think that'll work. So let's go ahead and say accept that. And we're off to the races. I could fit possibly even one more in there. Let's do a repeat of 21. 22, 23. I'm not looking for anything perfect, but I'm just trying to get these squashed up so that they look a little bit more realistic. Now I can go ahead and bridge those together. Now, ZBrush has a cool feature. So see how we have a little peach polygroup over here and a peach polygroup over here? When I go to make a mesh, since I have extrude turned on, it'll go ahead and bridge those for me. I'll have to bridge this middle one by myself, but that'll go ahead and bridge those automatically for me. That's just kind of a feature. If you ever make mesh and it's bridging things you didn't expect, just turn that off. So we'll go ahead and say make mesh. Oh, you know what? We can just do hit close, and that'll go ahead and close that last one for me. So now we have our little mesh here. I think that's looking pretty good. So if I want to go ahead and redo these polygroups, because I don't want like just these weirdo peach polygroups sitting there, just go back into your polygroup menu and do group by normals. Max angle 45 should work. And now we have an inner polygroup, an outer polygroup, and a inside polygroup. So now that we have that, what we can do is we can go to our geometry crease menu, and we can do crease PG. That'll crease our polygroup. So now when I hit D to go into our dynamic subdivisions, which is under geometry dynamic, we can do D and shift D to turn that on and off. So now we can kind of smooth this out, but you're going to see like, oh, it's kind of a little too crispy in here. Again, this is where we're going to go into like a smooth subdiv of 3 to make sure they're nice and smooth. And then we can go over here to a panel loops, smooth subdiv, and then a crease level. So we have a smooth subdiv of 3, we'll do a crease level of 2. So that'll keep it creased up 2 subdivision levels, and then it'll uncrease on the 3rd. In fact, we probably do a crease level of 1. That's a little bit much. So we'll do shift D, and I'm going to drop in some control loops here. I'm going to go to insert single edge loop, and we'll put in an edge loop right here and an edge loop right here. And if you want to, you can also do it on the inside. And if you ever don't want to do a face thing and it's grabbing your faces, just go over here. Instead of doing delete, we'll just say do nothing. And now it'll be a lot more likely. You could also turn it off for points if you want to. Now it won't accidentally do any face operations. So now when you hit D, that'll kind of maintain that. We get a nice soft fall off. And there we go. We've already made this into real geometry. So at this point, let's go ahead and grab our commander. Give me a second here. Let me move this down here. Let's see, sign in. And I'm just looking for my file station here. There we go. And let's go to transfer. And date modified. Body front 27. There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and download this. Boom, got it. And we'll use this real quick. So we'll go ahead and load tool. It's a big one. And really all I need off this guy, I don't need all of him, I just need most of him. There we go. So now we got that set up. Let's go ahead and grab his main body here and we'll do delete other. And I'll go ahead, we need 2 arms on this guy, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a mirror. Let's go ahead and drop down to subdivision level. Oops. Mirror. Mirror and weld. There we go. And now we can go ahead and append. Or we can also make this into a brush. So we can append this and just move it around, or we can grab this thing here. And I'm going to drag this onto my character. I can either drag it from the top down or from the side, or you can do both. So let's go ahead and hit B, create insert mesh, new. And I'll go to the side, we'll hit B, create insert mesh, append. So now we've got both in there. So now we go back to our character here. We can either start from the top of our character, and we can do the top down one. And you can just drag this one out like this. If we turn on X symmetry, that'll make sure we just drag out one straight down. And now it's just a little bit easier to size and position than trying to finagle those things. And then we can also squash this thing down and drag out copies if we want to. So fancy. Okay, also what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control-Shift, grab a little piece of him, Control-Shift-A, which is visibility, grow all, and I'm going to make him all one polygroup, Control-W. Let's turn off the line here. And now we can do split hidden. And now we've got his ruffles all in their own thing. And now I can go through here. I can use the move brush. I can use deformers. I think the move brush will be okay. Let's go to preferences, edit, turn off align cursor to surface here. And we can just kind of move this thing around a little bit. Alrighty. So that'll be what we